Are video games losing their charm? It's a question that echoes in the gaming community, stirring conversations and debates. Once the epitome of fun and excitement, video games now seem to be losing their sparkle for some. The reasons are varied and complex, and the subject has recently become a hot topic. Are we witnessing the decline of video games' appeal, or is there something else at play? This video will delve into possible reasons behind the decline in video game enjoyment. Firstly, we need to consider the nostalgia factor. Nostalgia, that wistful longing for the past, is an emotion that can deeply influence our perception of enjoyment. It's no different when it comes to video games. Many of us grew up playing games that left indelible marks on our psyche. The thrill of completing a challenging level, the satisfaction of unlocking a secret character, or the pure joy of exploring a beautifully designed world, these are memories that have shaped our gaming experiences. When we compare these cherished memories with the games of today, it's natural that we might feel a certain disconnect. This isn't necessarily because today's games are less fun, but rather because they are different. They are designed with different technologies, different aesthetics, and different gameplay mechanics. They cater to a different generation of gamers, who have different expectations and preferences. The evolution of game design and technology is another crucial element to consider. Video games have come a long way since the days of pixelated graphics and simple storylines. Today's games are often cinematic masterpieces, with complex narratives, photorealistic graphics, and intricate gameplay mechanics. But with this evolution comes a shift in the gaming experience. The simplicity and innocence of the games of our childhood have given way to complexity and sophistication. This doesn't necessarily make modern games less enjoyable, but it does make them different. And this difference can sometimes be jarring, especially for those of us who grew up with the games of the past. It's like expecting to enjoy a thick, juicy steak when all you've ever known and loved is a simple, comforting bowl of soup. The steak is not worse than the soup, it's just different. So, nostalgia can indeed paint a rose-tinted view of the games of our past, making the games of today seem less enjoyable in comparison. But it's important to remember that this is a perception, not a reality. Today's games are just as capable of delivering joy, excitement, and satisfaction. So the nostalgia factor can definitely play a role in our enjoyment of video games. Another factor that may be impacting our enjoyment of video games is the oversaturation of the market. Let's step back for a moment and consider the landscape of the gaming industry. Today, we're not just talking about the handful of blockbuster titles that release annually. No, we're talking about a veritable flood, a deluge of games pouring in from every corner of the planet. Independent developers, AAA studios, and everyone in between are churning out games at a breakneck pace, and the result is a market that's bursting at the seams. This isn't inherently a bad thing. After all, more games mean more choice, and choice is generally a good thing, right? Well, not always. You see, when the market is this saturated, it becomes increasingly difficult for any single game to truly stand out. It's like trying to pick out a single voice in a crowded room. It's nearly impossible. This can lead to many potentially great games getting lost in the shuffle, their brilliance never fully recognized or appreciated. Moreover, this overabundance of choice can often lead to a sense of overwhelm. The paradox of choice, as it's known, suggests that when we're presented with too many options, we can become paralyzed, unable to make a decision. This can result in us skipping over games we might otherwise enjoy, simply because we're overwhelmed by the sheer volume of options. But it doesn't stop there. This oversaturation can also lead to a sort of gaming fatigue. When there are so many games and so many of them are similar, it can all start to feel a bit samey. The excitement of diving into a new world, the thrill of exploring new mechanics, these can start to wane when we're constantly bombarded with more of the same old, same old. Therefore, the oversaturation of the market could be making games less enjoyable to play. Next, we need to talk about the rise of microtransactions and loot boxes. These business models are increasingly shaping the landscape of the gaming industry, and not always in a way that enhances our enjoyment of the games we play. Microtransactions, in essence, are small, in-game purchases that players can make to gain access to additional content or features. They've become a common feature in many games, from mobile apps to high-budget console titles. While they can provide a quick path to rewards or progression, they can also make games feel more like a grind. Instead of enjoying the journey, players may find themselves constantly chasing the next upgrade or item, often at a cost. Then we have loot boxes, the infamous mystery packages that offer a randomized selection of in-game items. They introduce an element of chance into the equation, turning a portion of the game into a gamble. For some players, the thrill of the unknown can be appealing. For others, it's a source of frustration. After all, who wants to spend hard-earned money on a box that might contain something you don't want, or worse, something you already have? Moreover, the rise of microtransactions and loot boxes can lead to feelings of disappointment. When you've invested time and money into a game, only to find that progression hinges on additional purchases or the luck of the draw, the experience can be disheartening. This is not to say that all microtransactions or loot boxes are inherently bad. They can serve a purpose and even enhance the gaming experience when implemented thoughtfully and fairly. However, when these models dominate the gameplay, overshadowing the core mechanics and storytelling, they can detract from the overall enjoyment. In the end, what was once a pastime defined by skill, strategy, and immersion can start to feel like a never-ending cycle of pay-to-progress, where success is measured not by your abilities as a player, but by the depth of your pockets. So, the rise of microtransactions and loot boxes could be contributing to the decline in video game enjoyment. To summarize, there are several factors that could be contributing to the decline in video game enjoyment. Let's take a quick look back at our discussion. We started with the nostalgia factor. We all have fond memories of games that once filled us with joy, games that transported us to different worlds and gave us characters we could relate to. The magic of these experiences, however, might be causing us to view newer games through a distorted lens, making them seem less enjoyable in comparison. Next, we examine the oversaturation of the market. It's a simple case of supply and demand. With the video gaming industry booming, there's a surplus of games available. This abundance, paradoxically, can lead to a sense of overwhelm and the feeling that many games are merely mediocre clones of one another, lacking in originality and creativity. We then turned our attention to the rise of microtransactions and loot boxes. These elements have become ubiquitous in the gaming world, and they can significantly disrupt the gaming experience. Instead of focusing on the storyline or gameplay, players are often nudged towards spending extra money, shifting the focus from skill and enjoyment to financial investment. These factors don't exist in isolation, they interact and compound. The oversaturation of the market might lead to more games relying on microtransactions to stand out and turn a profit. The nostalgia factor could make these modern monetization strategies seem even more intrusive and off-putting. However, it's crucial to remember that these are potential factors. They might make games feel less enjoyable for some, but not for everyone. Different players have different tastes and tolerances. Some might see the abundance of games as a chance to explore a wide range of experiences. Others might not mind microtransactions, seeing them as optional extras rather than a core part of the game. While it's clear that there are several factors at play, it's important to remember that enjoyment is subjective and